I'm so stressed. I don't even want the blunt in my hand right now. I'm just about to tell y'all this right now. Know who you are. Learn your history. Learn to understand our history outside of just the slavery aspect. So I'm saying that to say, like, I went to this African American museum, right? Um, this is like probably the second time in my life I've been to one of those. I went to one on a field trip as a kid type shit, and I just recently took my family today. So basically I didn't record it or nothing only because of the aspect of I want I want the next time I go there, I want to show those people who we were, because it's fucked up when I have to show the statues what the fuck our history is more than what the history of what these statues know. You feel me? So I didn't really want to record it because I was already just, when I went in there I was causing a scene of irritation to others, not my outside of my family, because my family know our history. We know what we were before slaves, as far as being kings, being queens, being gods, being goddesses, creating civilization, being the first race to exist on civilization or the planet itself. What else? Outside of knowing that we were, what's the word I want to use? Know about people like Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Nat Turner. Because even when I went in there, you feel me, all I seen was just all brainwashing methods and techniques. Don't get me wrong, because like I seen like a few things here and there where they was talking about stuff like ancient Kemet, and you, that's, I literally seen one picture, and it was so little that it was like it was just basically outshined by everything else in there. I'm not even gonna lie to you. As I said, I'm gonna re-record the video itself by the time I go back and just re-explaining this shit my own perspective from my own way. But it was more so like I said, the museum itself just caught a nigga off guard because they ain't talking about shit in there. They just talking about all slavery. They ain't talking about the difference between a nigga and a nigga. They ain't talking about just the aspects of Africa being colonized on the aspect of even it being called Africa from, I forget the man first name, something Africanus. Before that it was called Albulan. They wasn't talking about no spiritual African spirituality. They wasn't talking about how slaves revolted. They wasn't talking about how slaves took over slave ships and killed their slave masters because of the aspect of them not choosing to be submissive as slaves. They didn't talk about the slave revolts in Haiti where they won the war of trying to be captured as slaves but didn't become one. They didn't talk about how certain slave ships from Africa had to migrate to Louisiana because of them killing their slave masters and that being a place to go. They wasn't talking about how it was already black people on this land that we call America way before Christopher Columbus discovered the motherfucker, and he ain't even the motherfucker that discovered the shit as far as being the first cracker that discovered the shit. It was Leif Erikson. You feel me? But they wasn't talking about none of that shit because you feel me, they trying to keep you in a certain box of brainwashing. That shit gets irritating after a while because I know the differences in the illusions. I seen they had slave churches. They had a picture of, no, not a picture. They show literally a 10-second clip of Malcolm X. But they made a whole statue of Martin Luther King with white people. They had a black person tied to a tree. But as I said, didn't talk about no one like Nat Turner that hung white people from a tree. It's so much brainwashing going on in this world that y'all need divine guys like me to come and wake y'all up from these weak ass illusions, because y'all really be calling people like us conspiracy theorists, antichrist, um, people that you should just ignore, all this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, who's the brainwashed motherfuckers? Who's the people comfortable with this shit compared to somebody like me knowing our past history enough to want a difference? Especially when you got kids around. Shit, you ain't about to, bro, when I was in that museum, it was white people in there enjoying themselves. It was a black nigga with a white woman. And they're just looking at slave ships, the slave quarters and all that shit, right? Bro, when I tell you, as I said, even the picture of Harriet Tubman, they had like a little clay statue, whatever, of Harriet Tubman, right? And this shit was so, I'll say that was probably the most revoltingest thing that they showed. And even then, it was so brainwashingly, it painted the wrong picture of her. You see this amulet of Marie LeVay? The Harriet Tubman looked at similar to this, right? But the difference was the way they was painting the pictures. As I said, there's so much stuff I can go on about, and I'll say it's maybe one thing I seen in there that actually catch my attention of me enjoying myself with. Other than that, they wasn't even talking about Black Wall Street. They wasn't talking about how Black Wall Street got burnt down by crackers because of it being a successful community full of blacks thriving. Again, there's so much stuff, but I'm gonna save it for the part two of this. Apparently, when I go there again and re-record, and the only thing that I like about the museum itself is more so the aspect of it being a an attempt at trying to teach us something. But what it taught me and my kids is that it's just as much slaves comfortable with this shit in this day and age, actually more, compared to what y'all think it was back then. And I do want to state for the record that when I was in there, I was in that motherfucker cutting up. Because my lower and my orishas was riled up by just seeing that bullshit of submissive shit to brainwash motherfuckers. Crackers going in there enjoying themselves, as I said. But me, when I went in there and my family went in there, we was enjoying ourselves as well. Because I was cutting up talking to the motherfucking clay statues, telling them that they was more than this shit. As I said, I ain't really trying to spaz too much, but I'm trying to give y'all a concept of painting this picture, because if y'all don't stand up for this shit, y'all ain't nobody will. I literally seen pictures of niggas hanging, black people hanging, niggas hanging. No white people though. That's crazy. Motherfuckers is more comfortable with just accepting that and seeing that than not understanding that it's more to our history and even our struggle of that era than just that. That shit crazy, bruh. And I ain't really trying to prolong this video, but as I said, the museum itself, them attempting to try to give us another outlet in the ghetto, I would say, I appreciate that. But shit, even when I went in there talking to them, they barely knew anything, or they didn't have as much knowledge to the extent that I did, to where they can display certain things. And they also said it's more so a non-profit organization. So with that being said, I'm about to kick it with them, because that might be one of my new favorite places, because I might have to enlighten that motherfucking place. No different like I gotta enlighten my own church. And you feel me? I don't go to church as far as on the aspect of a Christianity certain aspect. I go there because my aura of me being the spiritual God that I am, I lighten motherfuckers up in that church alone. You feel me? Anywhere I go, people enjoy my presence because of the aura that I give off. and the energy that I received. The only people that disliked me was the people in that motherfucking museum. And do you know why? Because they so used to that shit, being comfortable with that shit and accepting that shit, that they when you hear somebody speaking out, they don't understand it because they think we was all just motherfucking house niggas that ain't said shit or did shit. Just been submissive all our motherfucking life and ain't did shit about it. But no, because if you think that is the case, then we wouldn't be here right now, right? Where's Black Wall Street? Because I guarantee you they ain't gonna show that. They gonna show Black Wall Street? They claiming to talk, they got you at this fucking event. Why they ain't talking about Kemet? Why they ain't talking about ancient Kemet? Why they ain't talking about Africa before colonization? Where's our blue line?
They ain't got no down, they got some Stanley.
Versus a nigga. A king versus a nigga. An ignorant motherfucker. Man, get the fuck out of here. Brother, I'm gonna politic with you next week.